Chosen one, they tried to hide the baby's pregnancy, but God saw everything. God says, "My child, listen carefully because hidden tears have reached my heart. What people tried to cover with silence was never hidden from me. I saw the shaking hands. I heard the whispered conversations. I watched fear enter a room where truth should have been welcomed. You have felt something changing around the person connected to your heart. Their voice became quieter. Their messages became shorter. Their eyes carried questions they could not explain. You wondered whether the distance meant rejection. It did not. There was a deeper reason behind their silence. A pregnancy became known, and fear quickly surrounded the news. Some believed hiding it would protect everyone from pain. Others feared judgment, shame, or broken relationships. Yet no closed door could block my sight. No deleted message could erase what I had already seen. My child, this message is not meant to create panic. It is meant to bring light where confusion has lived. Comment Amen if your heart needs truth wrapped in grace today. Something was hidden, but my mercy entered before darkness could take control. My beloved child, your soulmate did not learn everything at once. The truth reached them slowly through small signs. A missed call came late one evening. A family member spoke too quickly, then suddenly became quiet. A glowing phone screen reflected across their face. They read one sentence twice. Their breathing changed. Rain pressed softly against the window while their hand remained frozen above the screen. They sensed that someone was keeping something serious from them. Still, they did not accuse anyone. They sat alone and prayed. Their words were simple. They asked me to reveal only what they were ready to carry. That prayer mattered. I did not answer through noise. I answered through peace that refused to leave their heart. They knew the truth would eventually surface. What they did not know was how closely it would touch their future, their choices, and their connection with you. The pregnancy was not hidden because the baby had no value. It was hidden because frightened people misunderstood what honesty might bring. One person feared losing control. Another feared being blamed. Someone else believed silence could delay the consequences. My child, fear often builds walls before love can speak. Yet walls cannot remain forever when innocent life and wounded hearts stand behind them. I saw the young woman sitting beside an empty chair. Her fingers rested gently against her stomach. An open Bible lay on the table. She wanted to speak, but every possible sentence felt too heavy. She had practiced the truth many times. Each time footsteps approached, courage left her throat. She was not heartless. She was afraid. And while others pushed her toward deeper secrecy, I placed one quiet conviction inside her spirit. Tell the truth. That conviction began changing everything. You who are listening, understand this with compassion. The hidden pregnancy is not proof that every person involved wished to deceive you. Some were confused. Some were protecting their image. Some believed they were protecting the mother. Yet secrecy began causing greater pain than honesty ever could. Your soulmate felt that pain without knowing its name. They woke during the night with pressure in their chest. They reached for their phone, hoping to hear from you. Then they stopped. They feared bringing you into something they could not explain. The separation between you was not caused by a lack of love. They were carrying questions that had not yet found words. I was teaching them to stop running from hard truths. I was also teaching you not to measure love only through immediate answers. Something deeper was being prepared beneath that silence. One morning, sunlight crossed the kitchen floor while a difficult conversation finally began. No shouting filled the room. That made the moment heavier. A cup of coffee sat untouched. Someone placed a folded medical paper on the table. Your soulmate looked at it without moving. The date confirmed what their heart had already suspected. They asked one question. Why was this hidden from me? Nobody answered at first. Then tears came. A voice admitted that fear had controlled every decision. Your soulmate walked toward the window and pressed one hand against the glass. They were not only processing the pregnancy. They were grieving the broken trust around it. Yet even there, I stood near them. I reminded their heart that anger could reveal pain, but grace could guide the next decision. That was the first moment their fear began turning into courage. My child, when you notice the number 777 within this message, let it remind you of spiritual completion. Do not treat it as a prediction. Let it simply point your heart toward trust. I was not absent during those secret meetings. I was not silent during those trembling prayers. I was protecting the mother from despair. I was protecting the baby from being treated like a mistake. I was protecting your soulmate from reacting before wisdom could grow. I was protecting you from entering the conflict before truth had a safe place to stand. Waiting felt painful. Still, the delay gave every heart time to soften. What looked like silence was careful preparation. I was arranging honesty without destroying the people who needed healing most. Your soulmate then made a choice that surprised everyone. They refused to continue the lie. Their voice shook, but their words remained steady. They said the baby deserved truth. They said the mother deserved support. They also said that love could not survive inside hidden rooms forever. Some people looked away. Others became defensive. Yet your soulmate did not retreat. For the first time, they faced the pressure that had controlled them for months. Their courage did not come from pride. It came from prayer. That night they opened an old photograph connected to you. They remembered how safe your presence once felt. They almost called you. Their thumb rested over your name. Then they whispered, I need to make this right before I reach for them. My child, that sentence was not rejection. It was evidence of growing responsibility. You have wondered why your spirit kept returning to them. You tried moving forward, yet certain memories remained gentle instead of bitter. I allowed that tenderness because your heart was learning compassion without losing wisdom. You were not meant to rescue everyone. You were not meant to accept every secret without boundaries. You were being prepared to recognize true repentance when it finally appeared. There is a difference between regret and transformation. Regret cries because consequences arrived. Transformation changes what happens next. Your soulmate is beginning to understand that difference. They are no longer asking how to escape the truth. They are asking how to honor it. That change will soon affect the way they approach you. Share this message with someone who needs hope today. Hidden pain does not have to become permanent destruction. Grace can enter the most complicated room. Truth can be spoken without cruelty. Forgiveness can exist beside healthy boundaries. My child, I am not asking you to ignore what happened. I am asking you to let me reveal the full picture before your heart reaches a final judgment. The pregnancy affected more lives than you currently understand. One decision was made before your soulmate knew the truth. Another promise was broken behind their back. A family member carried information that could have changed everything sooner. Yet the deepest secret is not simply who knew. The deeper secret is why they believed your soulmate must never discover it. Tonight, your soulmate is closer to the truth than ever before. A message has been written but not yet sent. A name appears inside it. Your name. They want to explain why they became distant. They want to confess what the hidden pregnancy exposed inside their family. They want to tell you how the baby changed their view of love, honesty, and responsibility. Still, one final fact has kept their finger above the send button. My beloved child, do not let fear decide what that fact must be. Pray instead of worrying. Trust my timing. I am already working where you cannot yet see. The secret they feared would end everything may become the moment that finally forces every heart to speak honestly. And when the remaining truth is revealed, you will understand why your soulmate whispered your name before making the most difficult choice of their life. My child, listen carefully. The night grew quieter, but the questions inside every heart became louder. Your soulmate sat alone beneath a small lamp with the unfinished message still open. The words had been written, erased, and written again. They wanted every sentence to carry honesty instead of excuses. Outside, the wind moved through the trees. Inside, silence became the loudest voice in the room. They realized that hiding the truth had protected no one. It had only delayed healing. The baby became a gentle reminder that every life deserves love, dignity, and truth. That realization changed your soulmate in ways they never expected. They stopped asking who deserved blame. They began asking how broken relationships could be restored. The answer did not come all at once. It arrived through prayer, quiet reflection, and the courage to admit painful mistakes. The next morning they entered the same room where difficult conversations had ended before. This time no one looked away. The fear that once controlled every word had begun to lose its power. One by one, hidden feelings were spoken aloud. Tears filled tired eyes. Regret replaced defensiveness. The truth did not erase the pain, but it finally gave healing a place to begin. Your soulmate remembered every kind word you had once spoken. They remembered how you valued honesty even when it was uncomfortable. Those memories became a light during a very dark season. Instead of running from responsibility, they chose to face it with humility. That decision marked the beginning of a new chapter in their heart. Meanwhile, you continued living without knowing why everything had suddenly changed. There were evenings when you looked at old conversations and quietly wondered if you had misunderstood the connection. You prayed for peace more than answers. That quiet prayer mattered. Even when you could not see what was happening, your faith kept your heart from becoming bitter. The family gathered again a few days later. This meeting felt different. No one spoke with anger. They spoke with honesty. A long-hidden letter was placed on the table. Inside were words that explained why the pregnancy had been kept secret for so long. Fear of judgment had silenced people who should have chosen truth. Reading those pages brought tears, but it also brought understanding. Your soulmate realized something important. Secrets may delay consequences, but they cannot create peace. Only truth can do that. They closed their eyes and whispered a simple prayer asking for wisdom, courage, and compassion for everyone involved. Their heart no longer desired revenge. It desired restoration. Even so, one question remained unanswered. There was still one conversation that had never taken place. Someone who had remained silent from the beginning was finally ready to speak. That person carried a piece of the truth no one else knew. Without those words, the full picture could never be understood. As evening returned, your name appeared once again on your soulmate's phone. This time they did not erase the message. They read it aloud to themselves. Every sentence carried honesty instead of fear. Before pressing send, they paused and prayed that truth would heal more than it hurt. They took a slow breath. Their finger moved closer to the screen. At that exact moment, another notification appeared. It came from the one person who had hidden the greatest part of the truth. The message contained only a few words, yet those words were enough to change everything that your soulmate believed about the hidden pregnancy and the choices that followed. My child, listen carefully. The new message remained unopened for several long moments. Your soulmate stared at the screen while their heart raced. They expected another excuse. They expected another attempt to hide the truth. Instead, the first sentence was an apology. It admitted that fear had controlled every decision from the beginning. The words were not polished. They were not perfect. They were simply honest. That honesty carried more weight than any carefully planned explanation ever could. Your soulmate quietly sat down and began reading every line. The message explained that the pregnancy had never been hidden because the baby was unwanted. It had been hidden because several people believed the truth would destroy relationships that were already fragile. They convinced themselves that silence would buy more time. Instead, silence became a heavier burden with every passing day. Every family gathering felt uncomfortable. Every conversation ended too quickly. Every smile hid another layer of pain. The secret was growing larger than anyone could carry. A gentle breeze moved through the open window. Your soulmate closed their eyes and whispered a prayer. They asked for wisdom before responding. They knew that anger could easily speak first. Yet they also knew that broken hearts rarely heal through harsh words alone. They wanted their next step to reflect compassion without ignoring the truth. That balance was difficult, but it was necessary. At the same time, you sensed an unusual peace settling over your heart. You still did not know what had happened behind the scenes. You still had unanswered questions. Yet the anxiety that had followed you for weeks slowly began to fade. You opened your Bible and your eyes rested on words about truth bringing freedom. Those words did not answer everything. They simply reminded you that God is faithful even when people are not. That quiet reminder became enough for that day. Later that afternoon, your soulmate finally agreed to meet everyone face to face. The room felt unusually silent. No one hurried to speak. Every person understood that this conversation could shape the future of the family. The young mother held back tears while gently placing one hand over her stomach. She looked frightened, yet she also looked relieved. She no longer wanted to carry the burden alone. One by one, hidden feelings came into the light. Regret replaced excuses. Pride slowly gave way to humility. Someone admitted they had encouraged secrecy because they feared public judgment. Another admitted they stayed silent because they did not know how to help. No one defended what had happened. Instead, they acknowledged the pain their choices had caused. Honest words filled the room where silence had once ruled. Your soulmate listened without interrupting. That surprised everyone. They did not arrive seeking revenge. They arrived seeking understanding. When every voice became quiet again, they spoke gently. They said the baby deserved to grow up surrounded by truth rather than hidden behind fear. They said healing could begin only when everyone accepted responsibility. Those simple words changed the atmosphere inside the room. As the meeting came to an end, your soulmate stepped outside alone. The evening sky glowed with soft colors as the sun disappeared beyond the horizon. They looked upward and thanked God for giving them the strength to choose peace instead of bitterness. The wounds were still real. The questions were not fully answered. Yet hope had begun replacing confusion. Then something unexpected happened. Another family member quietly walked outside and asked for a private conversation. Their face showed deep sorrow. They admitted there was one final truth that had never been shared with anyone. It was not about the pregnancy itself. It was about a decision made months earlier that had quietly changed the direction of every relationship connected to it. Your soulmate felt their heart begin to race again. They realized the hidden pregnancy had uncovered something even deeper than anyone imagined. The secret had never been only about what was concealed. It was also about why certain people worked so hard to keep the truth away from those who loved each other most. That final confession was about to reveal the answer, and once those words were spoken, nothing would ever be the same. My child, listen carefully. The silence between them lasted only a few seconds, yet it felt much longer. The family member lowered their eyes before speaking again. Their voice trembled with every word. They admitted they had carried guilt from the very beginning. They believed protecting one's secret would prevent greater pain. Instead, that decision allowed fear to spread through every relationship in the family. They were tired of pretending everything was normal. They wanted the truth to stand on its own at last. Your soulmate listened without looking away. There was sadness in their eyes, but there was also compassion. They understood that broken decisions often grow from broken hearts. Even so, they knew that love could never become healthy while important truths remained hidden. They gently asked one question. Was anyone else forced to stay silent? The answer came after a long pause. Yes. More than one person had wanted to speak, but they had been convinced to wait until the right time. That right time never seemed to arrive. The confession continued. No one had expected the pregnancy to become surrounded by so much fear. Every passing week made the secret feel heavier. Every family gathering became another performance. Smiles were carefully practiced. Conversations were carefully planned. The truth remained locked behind closed doors. Yet every person involved carried the weight differently. Some lost sleep. Others stopped laughing. A few avoided looking into mirrors because guilt followed them everywhere they went. Your soulmate slowly sat down on the front porch. The evening air felt cooler now. Birds crossed the fading sky while the neighborhood grew quiet. They folded their hands and whispered a simple prayer for wisdom. They did not ask for revenge. They did not ask for victory. They asked for enough grace to make the next decision with honesty. That prayer changed the direction of their heart more than they realized. At the same moment, you found yourself thinking about them without knowing why. A peaceful feeling rested inside your heart. You remembered the kindness they once showed during difficult seasons. You also remembered the promises that seemed unfinished. Instead of becoming frustrated, you quietly prayed for everyone connected to the situation. You did not know every detail, but you believed that truth would eventually overcome fear. That quiet faith became a source of unexpected strength. The next morning, another meeting was arranged. This time everyone agreed that nothing would remain hidden. The young mother entered the room with courage that had not been there before. She spoke honestly about her fears. She admitted she had believed people would only see her mistakes instead of her heart. Tears filled the room. Yet no one interrupted her. For the first time, she felt heard instead of judged. Your soulmate walked toward her and offered gentle words of encouragement. They reminded everyone that an innocent child should never become the center of shame. A baby deserves love before opinions. That simple sentence softened hearts that had remained guarded for far too long. One by one, people began apologizing without defending themselves. The room no longer felt controlled by fear. It slowly became a place where healing could begin. Still, one unanswered question remained. Why had your name appeared so many times during these difficult conversations? Several people exchanged nervous glances. Finally, one relative admitted that your soulmate often spoke about you whenever hope seemed impossible. They believed your honesty would have encouraged everyone to choose truth much sooner. That realization touched every heart in the room. Your soulmate quietly smiled through tears. They realized the distance between you had never erased the respect they carried for you. Even during confusion, your memory reminded them of the kind of life they wanted to build. A life without hidden burdens. A life where difficult truths could be spoken with compassion. That realization gave them the courage they had been missing. As the meeting came to an end, an old envelope was carefully placed into your soulmate's hands. No one had opened it in months. Inside was a handwritten note explaining the very first decision that started the silence surrounding the pregnancy. Your soulmate looked at the envelope without breaking the seal. They understood that once they read those pages, they would finally discover how everything truly began, and why that forgotten letter had the power to change every relationship connected to this moment. My child, listen carefully. Your soulmate held the envelope with both hands, but they did not rush to open it. They understood that some words carry enough weight to change the way a person remembers the past. They quietly prayed before breaking the seal. They asked for wisdom instead of comfort. They asked for truth instead of convenience. Then they unfolded the letter and began reading every line with careful attention. The handwriting belonged to someone whose voice had been missing throughout the entire situation. Every sentence revealed quiet regret. The letter explained that the first decision to hide the pregnancy came during a moment of fear rather than faith. The writer believed there would be time to tell everyone later. They believed emotions would settle first. They believed waiting would make the conversation easier. Instead, every passing day made honesty feel more impossible. Your soulmate closed their eyes for a moment. They could almost hear the trembling voice behind every written word. There was no pride in the letter. Only sorrow. The writer admitted that the baby had never been considered a burden. The burden had been the fear of disappointing people they deeply loved. That fear slowly became silence. Silence became distance. Distance became misunderstanding. Before anyone realized it, the truth had become surrounded by walls that seemed impossible to break. A single tear fell onto the paper. Your soulmate gently wiped it away before continuing. The final paragraph asked for forgiveness, not because forgiveness could erase the past, but because it could open the door to a different future. Those words stayed in their heart long after they finished reading. Later that afternoon, everyone gathered once again. This meeting felt unlike any before it. No one arrived with prepared arguments. No one tried to defend old choices. Instead, each person carried a quiet desire to move forward honestly. The young mother spoke with more confidence than before. She thanked those who had finally chosen truth over fear. She admitted that hiding the pregnancy had become more painful than sharing it ever would have been. Your soulmate then stood and shared what the letter had revealed. The room became completely still. Some people quietly cried. Others lowered their heads in silent reflection. No one interrupted. Every heart understood that the letter was not written to accuse anyone. It had been written to free everyone from the weight they had been carrying for so long. At that same time, you sensed another gentle change within your own heart. The confusion that once filled your thoughts had begun giving way to peace. You still did not know every detail. You still had questions waiting for answers. Yet your spirit no longer felt trapped by uncertainty. You believed that whatever truth was coming would arrive at the right time. Your soulmate thought about reaching out to you once again. This time they did not hesitate because of fear. They hesitated because they wanted every remaining secret to be brought into the light first. They wanted the first conversation with you to begin with complete honesty. They refused to build a future upon unfinished truths. As evening settled over the town, church bells echoed softly through the quiet streets. Your soulmate walked inside the nearly empty sanctuary and sat in the last row. They bowed their head and thanked God for carrying them through every confusing moment. They prayed for the young mother. They prayed for the baby. Then they prayed for you. They asked that your heart would remain peaceful until every missing piece had found its place. When they stood to leave, an elderly church member gently approached them. With a kind smile, they handed your soulmate a small keepsake that had been left behind weeks earlier. Attached to it was a short note with only one sentence. The person you have been trying to protect has been praying for you every single day. Your soulmate stopped walking. Their heart filled with both hope and humility. They suddenly realized the hidden pregnancy had revealed far more than one family secret. It had uncovered the quiet faith, hidden compassion, and enduring love that had survived beneath every misunderstanding. Yet one final conversation still remained, and that conversation would determine whether every wound could truly begin to heal. My child, listen carefully. Before you leave this message, remember what has truly been revealed. The greatest secret was never the pregnancy itself. The greatest secret was how fear convinced good people that silence was safer than truth. Yet truth, when spoken with grace, became the beginning of healing instead of the end of hope. Your soulmate finally understood that love cannot grow where honesty is missing. They chose compassion over resentment. They chose responsibility over excuses. They chose peace over endless questions. That decision did not erase every wound overnight, but it opened a door that had remained locked for far too long. The young mother was no longer carrying her burden alone. The family no longer gathered behind carefully chosen words. The baby was no longer surrounded by secrecy, but by people who were learning that every child deserves to enter a world where truth is stronger than fear. Healing had begun, one honest conversation at a time. And you who are listening, your heart also changed. You stopped searching for answers that only time could reveal. You discovered that peace does not always come after every question is answered. Sometimes peace comes from trusting God while the final details are still unfolding. You learned that waiting with faith is never wasted. Your soulmate looked at your name one final time. This time they pressed the send button. No games remained. No hidden motives remained. Only honesty. They did not promise a perfect future. They simply promised to speak the truth, accept responsibility, and move forward with integrity. Sometimes the most powerful message is not the longest one. It is the most sincere one. If this message has reminded you that truth and grace belong together, hold on to that hope today. Pray instead of worrying. Trust God's timing instead of rushing your own. He can bring light into places that once seemed filled only with confusion. He can soften hearts that once seemed unreachable. He can begin healing where people thought healing was impossible. If these words encouraged your heart, share this message with someone who needs hope today. You never know who may be carrying a hidden burden and longing to hear that honesty and mercy can still walk together. Thank you for staying until the end. May your heart continue to seek truth with compassion, and may you have the courage to choose grace whenever fear invites you to hide. If this message spoke to your heart, type Amen.